my channel. All right. All righty. Folks, today I'm smoking a JFR Lunatic Habano, one of my favorite cigars. Originally, I think it's made by Aganorsa Leaf. Well, it is made by Aganorsa Leaf, not originally, but it still is. But just under the JFR moniker. And it is the end of the year, folks. It is the end of the year. And a good year. Next year is going to be a great year. This was a good year. What a good year for the roses. God, I should teach that song on this channel. Good Year for the Roses, the George Jones song, and then it was covered by Elvis Costello. It's a great song. Anyways, I came on to talk about a few things while I smoke a cigar, have my coffee, reflect upon the year, talk about some music stuff. I've been playing with AM Station now. We do it every Friday and Saturday. And the Friday venue might be a better place to film because, Saturdays it's really tough to film AM Station, the way the bar is set up and the way we're set up. I think the new place will be good. And so maybe for the 3rd of January, which is this Friday, I will film, or the week after, but I'll definitely film a Friday night. It's a nice venue, but it's easy the way it's set up. It's real easy to set up a camera and everything, and it could be a cool thing. I don't think this is light very well. There we go. Also, 2025, I will be taking on a few more students. If anyone's interested in lessons, you can email me at dave44levine@outlook.com, and we can set up lessons. I do a few already, 2 or 3 from people who have watched my channel and take lessons. Some just want to learn, basically whatever song they want to learn that day, they tell me and we go over it, and it works out great. Some people want to learn some music theory stuff, which is very cool. And one of the things I find when I watch YouTube stuff, it comes up in my feed, and usually I will instantly not watch the video, and sometimes will say, don't even recommend this channel, is when people say, here's the trick. Here's the guitar trick to when you want to do that. Like, I don't think anything's a trick. There's techniques, there's methods, there's ways to look at music and stuff, but I don't necessarily think of things as a trick. It's like you're not fooling anybody, and like a lot of the guys who are more advanced do this anyways, especially like horn players and sax players when they play over changes. So I don't really like that saying. I just think that it's cheap. One thing I went over with a student of mine recently was playing over major 7 changes. And when you play like a major 7 chord, for me, I always like to treat it like it's the 4 chord, regardless of what chord it is in the scale. I will play over a major 7 like it's a 4, which basically translates to I'm adding a sharp 11 instead of the natural 11. And it's a jazz technique that basically makes everything a 5th, so if you have if you have a C major 7, the scale would be, and if you just do it in 5ths, it would be C, G, D, A, E, B, F sharp. So it puts you in the key of G, which again makes the C major 7 chord the 4 chord. It sounds nicer. The sharp 11 sounds prettier against a major 7 chord as opposed to a natural 11. And again, I wouldn't call it a trick, but it's just a technique to know, you know. So anyways, I am doing, I do have some open spaces for lessons if anyone's interested. And if you're not interested, Fangul. Thank you. What else is going on? Let's see. My last lesson was the Sundays. Here's where the story ends. I always like that song. You know, after I post the video, I go back and watch it once just to make sure that, you know, it looks good and that I got it across good. And one thing I noticed in the beginning, I talked a little too much about Cocteau Twins and the Sundays, but I do believe that that song is derivative and that band, that sound, you know, Sundays and the Cranberries are derivative of Cocteau Twins. And anyway, so that's why I said it. We had a girl come up and sing with us 2 weeks ago. And she wanted to try something new, so she was throwing out a bunch of songs to us. She's come up a few times and asked me to do songs that I haven't. Hey, T-Boys, I hope you have a great year as well. Thank you so much. Um, we, so she asked if we knew the Sunday song, and I kind of knew it. And then I went back and listened to it and pulled out how that C was played as the in the pre-chorus or the chorus section there. And you know, it was hard for me to hear because I couldn't make out what the two guitars were doing. So I ended up watching them play it live and listen to them live. And when you hear the one guitar, you can pretty much clearly hear what he's doing. So that's why I taught it that way. Except live, he just holds the D. He doesn't play the D to the B to the D in the lead notes like it does on the record. But I figured, hey, I can play both. I could mix both parts together to make it sound more like the record. But really, if you were just playing that song, all you have to do is hold that C, add 9, and then add the D on the top note and hold it. And that's, and it's a split bar. So, I mean, that's all he's doing. So, and then the lead playing that he's doing goes from the D to the B to the D. But anyways, so that's why I taught that song. I also want to do Is She Really Going Out With Him at some point? I'm going to teach that song, and I have a couple of others. Somebody asked me today to do a Blue Nile song that I actually played on a demo cover for somebody back in like 90, I want to say 97, 98. Could have even been earlier as 96. I can't really remember what year it was. We recorded it down in Manhattan Beach. But that song, the only thing about it is the guitar doesn't really play a lot of the mains. It kind of like just plays this percussive on the strings. So I don't know if I'll teach that song, but I will do a Blue Nile song at some point. But I'll probably do one that's more a little bit more guitar centric. Coffee today is Down East Roasters Morning Blend as usual. What I drink. My second cup, my second cigar today already actually. And I bought myself a pipe for Christmas, a really nice one, and I haven't even smoked it yet. I find it hard to smoke a pipe. I mean, it's okay. I see some guys really love it, like cigar smokers who switch to it. I will never switch to a pipe. I mean, I like it occasionally just so I'm not going through 100 cigars a day. But, and I found some that I really like flavor-wise and some that I just don't care for at all. But in general, it's like the experience is not as good as a cigar. And cigars are so much easier. The other thing is more like a whole project. I also probably won't be doing any gear videos. Like I never really do gear videos, but I really don't like talking about gear. I watched a video today from Terry Rand. I don't know if you guys know Terry, but Terry's a good dude. And, he's making a video about some stuff about cheap guitars and whatnot. And, like you say, he really was indifferent about it for the most part. I mean, like I have a really cheap guitar. I have a Gary Kramer, um, prototype that was made overseas that Gary sold me personally, and it cost me a few $100. I paid whatever he paid for it to get it made, and then I put new pickups in it. And I take that guitar, like if I want to keep a guitar in my car, if I'm going out somewhere and I might go on stage and play something like an open jam or something, I'll throw that in my car because I don't care about it. And it's a great player. And the way I have it set up, I guarantee that it's probably better than 90% of what people are playing in general if they go buy a Strat off the wall or something. But yeah, you can get a great guitar for whatever money you want to get. It's so funny because like I've played custom shop Strats. I've owned a few custom shop Strats over the years. I've owned a few custom shop Les Pauls over the years. I sold almost everything of that kind of thing because I just don't play them. They don't do it for me. And a guitar, like where I buy a Mexican Strat, change the neck, put new pickups in it, I can make that thing play and be more of a workhorse for my type of playing or what I like to feel on the guitar when I hold the guitar. So a lot of times people will ask me, hey, what do you think of this guitar? I'm like, it's a $3,000, $2,000 guitar. I wouldn't buy it because I wouldn't play it. Even if it was $200, I wouldn't buy it. I just don't see the need because I don't like to play it. So everything when it comes to these instruments where people are like, they tell you it's good or they tell you they don't like it or how it, who cares? Who cares what anyone else thinks? It's such a subjective thing. Like personally, I'm not a huge fan of Stevie Ray Vaughan. I think he's a fantastic player, but the music itself is not something I would ever put on. There's never a day in my life where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put some Stevie Ray Vaughan on. Never happened. Never happened in my life. It never will. I just don't care for that kind of music. But I think he has maybe the best guitar tone of any guitar player. I think it's I mean, like you could look at the Beatles and people talk about the Beatles being the greatest, and they were one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time. More like a pop band, but either way, the sound that they got on their instruments, I think, are not great. The recordings, I think, are good, but there's nothing I walk away and be like, oh, I got to get George Harrison's guitar tone on this. That never happened. So, like, I love the Stevie Ray Vaughan sound. I think his sound is fantastic. I love the sound of the old vibroverbs, especially with a tube screamer in front of it. His tone, that cleanness of it, and the aggression in his playing, fantastic. His songs, again, it's not something I would listen to. But I tend to gravitate towards a Fender sounding amp as what I like. Again, like I love the sound of David Gilmour, but Gilmour's got a lot going on in that rig. You know what I mean? He's got like the, I forget what the tone bender is called. Not his tone, the orange one, the orange color sound. Yeah, the color sound he's got going on, and he's got a, what's that other pedal he uses? It's an electro harmonics. I forget what it's called. I have the, the Ram, whatever the hell it is. But either way, there's a lot going on when you play his lead tones. Yeah, it sounds fucking awesome. When you play that sound and you stop playing rhythm tones, it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me anyways. So even though I love that sound, it's not something I would, the electricness, no, it's not a mistress, that's a flange. No, he didn't use that. He used the Univibe and then he used the, and then I think he went to a chorus on the Wish You Were Here record. But no, it wasn't, not the mistress, it's the overdrive, whatever, I forget what it's called. It's a common one too. They make the Russian, it's the most common one. Again, that pedal to me sounds terrible, except when you're playing the single notes like Gilmour plays. The Big Muff, thank you. Yeah. The Ram's Head Big Muff. Again, like I said, when you put the Ram's Head Big Muff and you stack it with the color sound, you'll get that Gilmore sound, and it's great. It's a great sound. Again, for lead tone. But I don't really consider it a great sound for like, chord playing or really much else of anything. And mostly I've been just playing my acoustic. My acoustic has taken some road wear because I play the hell out of it every week. And in a couple of years, it's going to look like Willie Nelson's guitar because I'm starting to wear a little bit where there should be a pick guard and there isn't. Maybe I should put a pick guard on it to protect it. I don't know. I'm eating apart at that cedar top. Mainly because when I play, if I have to play any leads or bluegrass style things, I'm always anchoring my fingers right there, scrapping on it, just to, so I'm not looking when I'm playing. It's just so I do it by feel. But anyways, that guitar's taken quite a beating. And I went through a purge of selling a lot of guitars back in the past. I mean, I'm probably down to like 6 Strats, 5 Tellys, 4 Tellys maybe. And I got my B-Bender, one of them. Yeah, 4 Tellys. And then I have some other stuff, like I have a bass 6, and then a bunch of bass guitars, a couple of acoustics. But that'll be it. I won't ever need anything else. In fact, I have a PRS that I'd like to unload. TBZ, what's up? What up, what up, what up? So yeah, and I'm starting to feel that way about amplifiers. I feel like I want to pull a trigger on a Vibroverb from Rick Hayes. But before I do that, I think I'd like to sell some of my bigger amps. I mean, I'll keep my dual rectifier, but maybe dump 2 of the Marshalls. I'll keep the Marshall combo that I have, although I got to take it in because the EQ is not doing anything. I think whatever it needs, caps and anything else that it needs to make it so it works properly. So I got to take that in to get looked at and maybe recapped. But I'll get rid of my other Marshalls, and with that, and then I can justify going out and maybe I'll get rid of the single rectifier. I don't know. I mean, they're basically eye candy when I do my show. It's behind me. That's it. I'm never using those amps. I don't even, when I play with my electric at home, I don't even ever plug in. I just don't care. When I'm trying to get something down, I want to get it down as clean acoustically as I can. So I'm not really playing to a lot of sounds, and yeah. And I never go see live bands here either. Every time, the few times I've gone recently to see a live band, I feel like they're playing classic rock with an Iron Maiden setting on the amplifiers. It's like, you don't need all that distortion. It doesn't sound good. I don't really care for that high gain sound. And that was kind of like a turnoff for me in the 90s when, you could listen to like Soundgarden, which I feel like is like right at the verge of like as much gain as you want. But then when I heard stuff like Pantera and I hear stuff like, well, who else has that? I mean, there's a lot of them. Even Megadeth. I feel like the sound is just really overly distorted, and it would have done more justice a little bit pulled back. In fact, I think Megadeth's best sounding record for their guitars would be on Cryptic Writings. I mean, even though, let's be honest, Rust in Peace is a much better record. But it's just sound-wise, I'm just like, I just wish the gain was pulled back. Not necessarily on the lead stuff, but on all that rhythm stuff. That it's just a little too buzzsaw for my taste. But that's just me. But I do love Rust in Peace. I mean, I think that's a fantastic record. Like I said, sound-wise, you know, yeah, way too much gain. Yeah, 100%. Hey now, Jan, what's going on? Yeah, and I watched your video I think it was last night. Nice stuff, little blues stuff you're playing. Yeah, but in general, people use way too much gain. I always try to tell people use less gain, way less than what you're comfortable with, and then get it down. Then go back and put a little bit more gain on it, but still not crazy gain, and you'll feel it. It'll sound much better. I mean, when you listen to like those Zeppelin recordings, to me, those are colossal sounding. The sound is so fucking big, and Page is not using a ton of gain. Atomic Punk, absolutely. Ed's gain is not as high as people think it is. And the other thing about Ed's gain, um, what was I going to say about his sound? I mean, he uses a lot less gain. Most of the tone is in his fingers. You can hear when he plays Spanish Fly, it still sounds like it's Ed on an acoustic, a nylon string. So, I mean, most of the playing is in your fingers. But yeah, Ed's tone is fantastic, especially the early stuff. In fact, I saw Van Halen in 2000, I want to say 7. I can't remember the year, but I could have been later. So whenever they did the tour for the A Different Kind of Truth, and his tone was horrendous. The tone of his guitar was so bad on that tour, I was just like, I can't believe it, because I saw him on the For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge tour, and his sound was fantastic. So I was totally disappointed from how that sounded. Also, the thing about Ed's tone is people don't realize it's brighter than you think it is. Most people think like that tone is like, people go for this really mid-heavy tone. And his tone isn't really that mid. It's more bright. A couple of my students play in bands, and when I go see them, they ask me, what do I think of the sound? And I'm like, well, first of all, the guitar tone is way too dark. I'm like, and because of that, everyone's turning up. And I'll tell you who the big problem is here in Massachusetts in the live bands, and it could be the same everywhere, I just didn't notice it in Los Angeles, is that the bass players play way too wide a frequency here. They have this bombastic sound. And I'm like, if I think of the most bombastic sounding, and I love that word, it's such a Paul Stanley word, it's bombastic. But such a bombastic sound, when you think of like the most bombastic sounding bass, I think of Chris Squire. And Chris Squire's bass is really a bright sound. It's a little overdriven and it's bright, but you hear the low end and you hear a little high end in it, but you don't hear that mid-range is all keyboard and guitar. You can hear everything. He's scooped out of there. And all you got to do is just go listen online to any isolated tracks of people playing bass, and you're going to be surprised how thin it is. That it's taking the bottom, but it's not taking that low mid that everyone puts it in. And it drives me nuts because that makes guitar players turn up because they can't hear themselves. And now you have an absolute race for volume. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, even back in the day, agreed, Atomic, agreed, 100%. And back in the early days, if you were playing through like even a Marshall, which before it had a master volume, if you wanted to drive that Marshall, you needed to drive that front end. At first, people were using humbuckers, which would drive the front end clearly because you're driving a harder signal. But then after that, they started using stuff like treble boosts, which really just jacks the treble and volume into the front end of the amp to drive the amp more. A lot of people have been commenting on my JCM 800 reel that I did. Is it called a reel on YouTube? Story? Whatever the fuck it's called. I have no idea. But anyways, a lot of people comment on it. They're like, oh, and when people say JCM 800, I'm assuming, or they mean the 2203. No, they don't. No, they don't at all. There's a lot of people that talk to me about JCM 800s and then I find out they either have a 2210 or a 2205. And to me, that amp is not the same or even close to a 2203. And the 2203 from 81 is the same 2203 JMP from 79. Those guys in Priest were playing it in the 70s. The guys in the Scorpions were playing it in the 70s. It wasn't an 800. You know, but people like to say, oh, the JCM 800. What about it? Which one are we talking about? Because they're very different sound, and the 900s. The 900 2501 and the 2100 are completely different amps from the 4100 and the 4105. They are 4501, sorry. They are, or 4500, which is the 50-watt head. They are completely different amps. They aren't even close. The 2300 is 2300, 2100. What the hell number is it now? I don't remember. The 2100. I'm losing my mind. The 2100 is really like a 2203, except it has a clipping diode added in the circuit that you can take out. The 4100 is really like just a V1, and then you go into a lot of fucking clipping diodes. It's really like running a lot of pedals. Now, can you get a good tone out of that amp? Actually, you get a good tone out of anything. Anybody can play an amp and it can sound great. Do I like that amp? No, I think it sounds terrible. For me, I don't like the way it responds. I don't like the way it plays. So I don't like that amp. Somebody else will tell you that the 4100 is the best amp ever. Good on them, and it probably is for them. But they're not the same amps. And they're both JCM 900s. But they're completely different designs, and they're completely different gain structures, and they're different in every way. They're not the same fucking amp. So when people say to me, I have a JCM 900, my first question is, which one? And they look at me like I'm crazy. Well, no, the 900. You know, which fucking one? They don't know and don't understand that there's many amps under that moniker that, you know, because that is just a series of that decade. You know, the JCM 800 name came from just Jim Marshall trying to separate from the JMPs so people knew that if you had a JMP, you were buying it through Rose Morris. It was old stock through Rose Morris, and the JCM 800 was new stock coming from Marshall. You know? So in respect, you know, it's like whatever amp you play through, whatever guitar you play through, that combination and the player, that's what's going to make you sound. It doesn't matter. So talking about gear to me is like so obnoxious to me, because it's like, well, who cares? I've seen guys play, and I'm like, what are you using? And then I see them, and I'm like, oh, okay. I saw a guy play one time. His tone was fantastic. He played with the king of tone from Analog Man, Mike Pierre. He played one of his pedals, and to me, a friend of mine had it. And so I said, bring it over. I'd like to play it. Fucking awful. I thought the pedal sounded terrible. I was like, I can't believe that guy had such a great sound. I do not like the way this thing responds when I play it. Hated it. My buddy who had it then also showed me a custom one he had made, which was voiced differently, and it was fantastic. And he's like, yeah, this one's like $200 more, and you have to go on like a 3-year waiting list to get it. I'm like, all right, but doesn't matter to me. I wouldn't get it. Yeah, so people love the King of Tone. I do not. I just hate that pedal. Now, I know there's switches on the inside, and you can switch the voicing, whatever. To me, I just wouldn't buy it. It doesn't do it for me. Just like the OCD, the full tone OCD, I just do not like the sound of that pedal. And I've heard people play it. I've walked up to them to the stage and say, what are you using for a drive? It sounds great. They're like, I use this. I look at the settings. I'm like, yeah, I had that pedal. It sucked. I hated it. So really, it comes down to like not just, you know, like I always say to people, the audience doesn't really fucking know. It's really what the player's feeling, and then how that transcends. And then the sound itself, I mean, it doesn't fucking matter. Agreed. Well, I watched an interview with Dan Huff, and Dan Huff was talking about how the Original matchless amplifier. He's owned since it was brand new, like when matchless first started, and I can't remember the guy's name, Mark something. The guy who ended up starting Bad Cat. He he said that matchless, the way it responds when he plays, is the only amp he uses. He says he owns Marshalls, he owns all these amps, he never uses them, just uses the matchless. And then some new guy, I forget what brand it was, came out and he said that amp has the same je ne sais quoi, whatever it is that he doesn't know, but the way it reacts when he plays it, um, you know, people like what they like. They play what they play, and how it responds and how you expect an amp to respond to you. You know, it's all subjective. Everything is subjective. Which, ain't that the truth? I mean, music is subjective. You know, can you do? Like, at my gigs, people will ask me to play songs, and I'm like, yeah, that ain't happening. That song sucks. And they look at me in shock. I think that number one, that I think the song stinks, and number two, that I'm so vocal about it. I'm just like, yeah, no. A girl that comes to our shows, I want to say maybe like once a month or twice a month, she came up to me and she started walking up to me, and I said, get the hell away from me. And she had a look of shock. She goes, what? I said, we're not playing it. She goes, oh, I'm not going to ask for Brown Eyed Girl this time. I said, what do you want? And then she named the song, and we're like, oh, that's actually a good song. I said, don't come up and ask me for shitty songs ever again. And she's there week after week. Twice a month. But I always tell people, we're playing these songs for us, not for you. The songs we like. We've added a lot of new songs lately, too. It's been good. It's been a lot of fun. Yeah, all three are $1,000 songs. You want to play? We want me to play it? Put $1,000 in the tip jar. Otherwise, get the fuck lost. There's a couple of Neil Young songs I would throw in there too. Oh, thanks, Atomic. Well, a lot of people don't realize I'm trying to play songs that sound really cool with two guitars, where we can pull off the vibe of the song and really get it across, where people may not have heard that, had the opportunity to hear it like that. Um, not some pedestrian song that every fucking singer goes out there and plays. Um, which again, why when some girl comes up and says, can I sing with you guys? And we're like, what song? And she's like, here's where the story ends by the Sundays. I'm like, fuck yeah, fucking song's great. We do other songs with her too. We do The Chain from Fleetwood Mac. We do Gold Dust Woman. We do The Motels, Only the Lonely. We've done Carly Simon's You're So Vain and Nobody Does It Better. Uh, we've done Emotion from the Bee Gees, and Samantha sang with her. So we do all these songs that, to me, like, who the fuck plays these or even knows the chords? And most times people play chords, they get them wrong anyways. I saw a guy once playing around this area, and he was playing, and he was like, here's one of my favorite songs, and he goes and plays Easy by the Commodores, but doesn't play any of the chords right. I was like, this is your favorite song and you couldn't take the time to learn it properly? Playing major chords instead of minor sevenths, it was bizarre. It was like if you wanted to simplify it beyond, I don't even know, it's just not, I guess we would call it reverse reharmonization. It was like, how can you make this song as fucking horrible as possible. This guy did it. I was like, I don't know why because people told me this kid was good. He was like not good at all. Yeah, he made it simple and bland and took all the vibe out of it. You know, the chords are great in that song. You got like, if you play it in G, because the record's A flat, but it's just so if you're playing it in G, you know, you got the B-7 to the A-7 to a D11. Nice chords. This kid was playing it like D to C back to D. I was like, what? It was fucking rotten. Rotten, I tell you. But like I said, it's almost the end of the year. We got another, what, tomorrow night? We kiss this year goodbye. Some people, yeah. Oh, totally. Totally. And a lot of times when we do songs like we do beginnings from Chicago. And so I wrote Jimmy a chart for him to learn the song. And, you know, when he was playing it, he's like, are you sure these are right? And I said, yeah, because you're playing, even though you're just playing an acoustic strumming the chords, you're playing what the complete band chord is sounding like. I'm doing what actually Terry Kath is playing. So when you put them together, it gives this big dynamic sound of like a full band with just two acoustic guys playing it. And it just comes out. I mean, that's what the vibe is. So people ask, like, why do you do beginnings and you don't do this song? Well, that song really won't sound great without your fucking, you know, 5-piece horn section. Thanks, Jan. I try to get the vibe in the song with, you know, playing like one that I really am proud of would be 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover. Because in 50 Ways, Jimmy plays exactly what Paul Simon plays. He plays all the open chords the way Paul Simon plays it. You can watch Paul play it live. Plays it exactly the way Paul Simon plays it. Me, I'm playing what the keyboard guy is adding on top of those chords. And together, it's such the vibe of the song. I mean, usually when we play that song in the verses, people are like looking at us like, what the, like, we nail it. And then in the chorus, I play what the band is playing, and then Jimmy takes what the guitar is playing, just the high, you know, that 70s octave one note thing. It sounds like the record. That's all we're trying to do, is give people the vibe of the record. And that's all I try to do in the lessons that I teach on the channel, is try to give people the vibe. I have people coming back going, he didn't play it in that position. No shit. In fact, I could have sworn at the beginning of this video, I said, this is how I play it. This is if you want to get the sound, you're playing an acoustic and you want to sound like what's going on in the record. I did that on the Sailing video. I showed you what he plays in Sailing, but then I also did an addendum to show you, if you want to change the bass notes to do what the bass is doing to give it a vibe of just playing it by yourself, you could do that. Hey, Ricky. Yeah, Simon's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable writer. I mean, still, let's look at a few songs by Paul Simon, not even his whole career. Just look at a few from that year. Still Crazy After All These Years, and 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, and I could go through that whole album. And you're going to tell me he's not a better songwriter than Bob Dylan? Bob Dylan, I mean, this fucking guy stinks. I don't care what anybody says. Dylan, if you tell me Dylan is a great songwriter, you are a hipster doofus. He wrote a couple of good songs in his career. He didn't even write as many good songs as Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff wrote together. I would argue that Richard Marx is a better songwriter. I think the fact that people talk about Dylan and they glorify this is such gaslighting on the fucking public. It is insane. Insane. Horrible. He's pedestrian. The songs are boring. and he's terrible. Billy Joel. You're going to tell me he's a better songwriter than Billy Joel? Go fuck yourself. Let me give you the Giphy right there. Not even close. Not even in the same league. Is he a better writer than Elton John and Bernie Taupin? Or Elton John, and I forget the other guy's name who wrote the lyrics for Little Genie, which I love that cheesy song. I love cheese. Did I mention that? I love cheese. Is he a better songwriter than Neil Diamond? In his fucking dreams. In his fucking dreams. I'll tell you right now, as terrible a song as Forever in Blue Jeans is, and when I say terrible, it's terribly great. Bob Dylan doesn't have a song that comes close to Forever in Blue Jeans. Forget about September Morn and fucking Love on the Rocks. How dare he compare himself to the Jewish Elvis? Dylan, according to Rolling Stone magazine, a magazine for douchebags, Dylan is the greatest songwriter of all time. Of all time. He couldn't fucking carry John Lennon's ballsack. He stinks. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think Lennon's the great. McCartney is better than McCartney. Better than fucking Jagger and Richards. Give me a fucking break. I think Keith Richards' songwriting is so fucking underrated. All you have to do is listen to Talk Is Cheap from 1980. I think it's 87. Every song on that's better than anything Dylan's ever put his fingers on. I'm going to go on record saying Dylan is the worst Wilbury. The least talented Wilbury. Are you going to tell me he's a better fucking songwriter than Jeff Lynne? Give me a fucking break. I'll tell you right now, Jeff Lynne, out of the blue, ELO out of the blue, ELO A New World Record, ELO El Dorado, ELO Fire, what's the Fire on High? Face the Music, ELO Discovery. I don't think there's a song on any of those albums that's worse than Bob Dylan's best song. Dylan stinks. These fucking people. And I remember when like they talked about like Tom Waits and Bruce Springsteen coming out there, the new Dylan. The new Dylan? They're fucking a million times better than Dylan. A million times. Dylan doesn't have a song that's good enough to be on the Born to Run album. Jeff Lynne is fucking awesome. I'll give him a pass on Hold On Tight. That song fucking stinks. Hold on tight to your dreams. For that, I look at Jeff Lynne and say, all right, I'm going to give you a pass. You've written so many great songs, I'll let that one go by. Don't do it again. And you can throw Don't Bring Me Down in that mix too. Yeah, Leonard Cohen's another one. I don't get it. I think his songwriting is actually pretty good. Let me say this about Leonard Cohen. I think Everybody Knows is a great song. Everybody Knows is better than any Dylan song. But I can't stand Hallelujah. And any shitbag that goes on TV on these fucking karaoke shows and sings that song like it's a real heartfelt song, you lost me. It stinks. It stinks. I'm going to go on record saying George Michael's a better songwriter than Bob Dylan by a millionfold. And whoever wrote I Can't Make You Love Me, the one that George Michael did, and also Bonnie Raitt had the hit, whoever that songwriter was, fucking brilliant. Great song. Michael McDonald and Kenny Loggins, great songwriters. Look at all these songwriters that get overlooked. I'll throw John Denver in there. I'll throw the couple from, what's that, Starland Vocal Band. I forget the husband and wife name. I forget their names. They wrote Take Me Home Country Roads, but they also wrote Afternoon Delight, better than anything that fucking Dylan ever wrote. In fact, if you said to me, you're stuck on an island and you could listen to every Dylan album, we'll give you every copy of his album so you have so much music to listen to, or you could listen to Afternoon Delight nonstop, I'd say put on Afternoon Delight. I'm good. Yeah, I don't have good things to say about Chuck Berry. Anyways, next week on the DL show, I'm bringing it back to bring Bob Dylan on. I'm kidding. He wants to come on and defend his honor of why fucking we've been gaslit about his career. People are like, he influenced the Beatles. You think the Beatles wouldn't have existed if fucking Dylan never fucking introduced them to marijuana? Some other asshole would have. Who cares? Who gives a flying fuck? That would be like me saying that Donovan is responsible for the Beatles. Donovan, I think, did more for the Beatles than fucking Dylan did. So it's like, it's so ridiculous. I don't believe in Zimmerman. I'll take God Part 1 from John Lennon over any song that fucking Dylan wrote. And every asshole's watching this going, but what about All Along the Watchtower? Hendrix did a great version of that song. The original version's miserable. But yeah, if it wasn't for Hendrix's playing, people would be like, what, that song stinks. Yeah, the Grateful Dead I don't get either. In fact, to me, I struggle with the Grateful Dead because I don't know what I like least. The Grateful Dead or the fans. When a deadhead tries to start talking to me about like, oh, but Jerry, I'm like, first of all, can you shower and wash that patchouli stink off of you, and then we can have a conversation? I don't even want to smell that. All I smell is patchouli and sage. Get away from me. Take a shower. Donald Fagen, Walter Becker. You're going to tell me that Dylan's a better songwriter than those two? Go fuck yourself. Go F yourself. David Pack from Ambrosia. What a fucking great songwriter. Yeah, you've been gaslit, TVZ. Dylan's better. Better than what? Stinks. I always say to the Dylan fans, name me 5 songs that are good. I can name any songwriter who wrote 5 songs that are fucking brilliant, that really are in the ethos. Dylan songs, it's like what, Blowing in the Wind? Everybody must. Oh, just name me 5. You don't have to give me a number, just name 5. You don't have to name 15. Good one, TVZ. Yeah. Oh, I love when people say that though, because that's how they answer you. Oh, I can name 100. I just want 5. And they'll sit there and be like, Hurricane? Oh yeah, what a great fucking song that is. You're gonna put Hurricane up against fucking Still Crazy after all these years? Songs that evoke such emotion? Barry Gibb is fucking 1,000 times the songwriter. 1,000 of fucking Bob Dylan. David Foster, another one. Tremendous. After the Love Is Gone from Earth, Wind, and Fire is better than any song he ever wrote. This is a JFR lunatic in the short Robusto. Yeah. But I tell you, when it comes to music stuff, the mainstream gaslights everybody. And everyone believes it. You could watch everybody, like if you're into Kiss, which I was as a child. Like as a kid, I loved Kiss. I really got out of them around 1980 when I was introduced to Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and all this other music. Steve Lucas is a fucking amazing, one of my favorite songwriters. But you could take, and you look at all these people that make Kiss best album lists, and they put Destroyer at number one. Destroyer is terrible. I hate to fucking tell you, Kiss fans, Destroyer is a horrible album. What's the opening track? Detroit Rock City. It's a decent song. It's good. Is it their best song? No. It's very good. After that, the record's just downhill, except for Sweet Pain. And everything else you could throw out because I find it insufferable. In Great Expectations, God of Thunder's horrible. Okay, here we go. Oh, God of... You guts! It's like a dirge. Terrible. Do You Love Me? Flaming Youth. The record stinks. Shout It Out Loud. It's so horrendous. And then you listen to like the first album. They were a fucking great rock band. You know, anyone that goes around that says Kiss stinks, I say, listen to the first three albums. Those are great records. Kiss Alive is a great record. Destroyer? Horrendous. Horrendous. Sorry, folks. For all you people that put Kiss, their best album of all time is Destroyer, you're retarded. I think Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun is better than Destroyer. And I don't love those albums. I do not love those albums. I think the recordings of those albums are fucking rotten. And I know you can sit there and say the recording of Hotter Than Hell is terrible, but at least the songs are good. And Kiss Alive 2 is a great record. I even like side 4. I didn't realize that the Kulick brothers toured with Meatloaf on that Bat Out of Hell tour. I thought that was interesting, because that was right around the same time Bob Kulick did the lead stuff on Alive 2 on the side 4. And I like Bat Out of Hell, and let me just say this for the record, Jim Steinman, better songwriter than Dylan. Oh, and you know what? So, a friend of mine was talking to me about Rick Beato's channel. I haven't watched Rick in a while. Sometimes I watch it, and I watch it right up to the point when he says, let me tell you about this channel. This is my... And I just shut it off immediately. You don't need to tell me about your channel. Just fucking do your interview and shut the fuck up. But anyways, he was like talking about how yacht rock is an insulting term for these guys. It's, first of all, look at the etymology of why it's called yacht rock. It was a fucking YouTube video. It was like a 12-part YouTube video that was a joke, a parody about the music. And it was like this fake story of how these guys were all like, you know, Marina Del Rey fighting, you know, like in this whole big battle between Hall & Oates and Michael McDonald. It's fucking hilarious. And so in that, they called the music yacht rock. That was where it came from as a joke. And then just over time, that's what they started calling the music yacht rock. But now they're like, oh, it's insult. Shut up. It's funny. It was a funny premise to a story, and that's why it's called it. Shut up. Who cares? It's that easy listening rock from the late 70s, early 80s. Get over it. That video was fucking awesome. Fucking great. Toto was in it. I mean, it was a funny take on it, on a fictional story. All these fictional background stories of the songs. It was fucking great. Effing great. And then, you know, Beato's taking it seriously, like they call it yacht rock. It was a joke. It was from a fucking mockumentary. And now they call it yacht rock. But who cares? What do you want to call it? Back in the day when I was there, they used to call it like the LA pop sound. Now it's called yacht rock. What's the big difference? Who gives a shit? It's the same fucking thing. It's that ultra polished jazz pop from the late 70s, early 80s. So what? They call it yacht rock. It's insulting. No, it's insulting you. Who gives a shit what they call it? It's fun. And people should be talking about the name because they should be giving more light to how funny that original, I wouldn't call it lounge music, but it's definitely more to that original, a nod to that original mockumentary, which was funny. You know, when people sit and hear the song, Don't Fear the Reaper, everyone's like, more cowbell, more cowbell. You know, nobody's insulting the song saying it had cowbell. It's because everyone's giving a nod to the fucking Will Ferrell skit with Christopher Walken where they wanted to put the cowbell was the most important thing in the song. It was based on a joke. It's not insulting to fucking Blue Oyster Cult. In fact, they love it because it's given them exposure. And yacht rock gives all these artists from the 70s, whether it be Chilliwack, Jerry Rafferty, the Doobie Brothers, Steely Dan, Gino Vanelli. It's given these guys exposure again. My niece loves yacht rock. You know, she's 15 years old. How else you're exposing all these young people to this music? Because like I said, all because this guy, these mockumentary guys came out with it, and then Sirius decided to come out with yacht rock, the channel, and do it like that genre of music, and now it's stuck, and everyone, oh, it's insulting, it's this, yeah, oh yeah, you know what, you could get your checks back to what they were before your royalty checks started coming in when they started playing mad amounts of this stuff back on the radio. It's fucking great music. Who cares what you call it? So dumb. It's like when people discuss metal and they're like, well, that's actually thrash metal. So what? What the fuck? It's all the same. Who gives it? Everyone's so worried about what little compartment they're throwing it in. But if somebody's into thrash metal and they want to hear thrash metal and you're playing them fucking Blue Cheer, they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? They don't want to hear it. You know, so they micro do it down to yacht rock, which to me, you could sit there and, like I said, you can call it LA pop. Late 70s, early 80s LA sounding pop, because that LA sound was that real clean sound. Yeah, it's like when Grand Theft Auto came out and everyone started, or Guitar Hero and all these games came out on video games. All these kids were exposed to all early great music, fucking Kansas and Black Sabbath, and now they all love it. And there's a resurgence in great music because no one's making great music today. The record companies are dead. Digital music, in my opinion, has killed production. There are still people doing decent production, but for the most part, pop and everything, they just slam everything to the front. There's no headroom in music anymore. Everything just sounds fucking awful. They follow the same two, you know, a band comes up with changes, everyone just rips it. Just annoying. Just annoying. To me, those songs, that whole scene was like, there was some of the best songwriting going on back then. Beautiful changes, you know, we were beyond the fucking 145 or the 1564 that everyone plays now, or the 1654, whatever the hell they're playing, 1645. It's all the same. They all play the same fucking shit. Back then, there was great harmony to those chords, you know. I like harmony. Harmony and me, pretty good company. It's good stuff. Anyways, I got a few minutes here, not many people watching today, which is fine. But you can just, if anyone has any questions for me for moving forward to the channel in the year, or any questions in general, pipe up now because I've probably got about 5 minutes left of this cigar. Alexa, what time is it?
It's 4:04 p.m.
All right. Ryan Moore, thanks so much. Good to see you, man. We gotta get together soon. Love to see you. Oh, nice. Ryan, you should take your wife out to my gig in Whitman. We play Friday nights at Martini's Bar and Patio. No, we play in Whitman now too on Fridays. Not too far. It's actually probably like a 20-minute ride from where you are, 25 minutes. Right on Washington Street. You should come down. It'll be fun. Bring a guitar. We'll have you come up and play one with us if you want. Excellent. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you, man. Yeah, you can smash it like Pete Townsend. Trying to think if we do any Who songs. Rough Boys we can do. Yeah, we don't really do anything by the Who. I'm trying to think what we've done before. We've done some by request. I can't really remember. I'm not a huge Townsend fan, as you well know, but I do love the Empty Glass album. Oh, and I like Pure and Easy from his first album. Oh, excellent. Yeah, Year of the Cat. We actually were doing we were working on last week Time Passages. Ricky, very good seeing you. Have a great 2025. Everybody in the chat and anyone watching my channel, have a great 2025 to a healthy year, a prosperous year. Yeah, it's great, Brian. I love that song. We do it in D, which is, I think on the record he does it in A. Well, we do it, well, what is it? We do it in, yeah, he did it in E flat. We do it in D. Although live when I watch him, he does it in D, but tunes down a whole step. So he's a half step. So he's really in D flat now. Brian and I went to high school together playing guitar. Brian's was a grade above me, for those of you who don't know. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, that's what I try to do is I try to get it so when you play it, it sounds like the song. Sergey Paris, Happy New Year. Yeah, the D6. Yeah, it's also in King of the World, that D6, in a similar progression. Hello, one and all. Right, it's that C major 7 D6 to E major, I think. King of the World. We should do King of the World. No marigolds in the promised land. There's a hole in the ground where they used to grow. Any man west of the Rio Grande is the king of the world as far as I know. I should do a lesson on King of the World. I love that song. I don't think about it much. I should. But yeah. Any other questions? Any other questions? No questions. Any questions? No questions. Oh, I'm going to be making some bacon and some leftover turkey in a few minutes. You be good as well, Brian. Great seeing you, man. Like I said, we got to do it in person. Absolutely. Give your family my best. Yeah, you know what? When you come out to a gig, let me know. I got to get fucking Conroy and fucking Whiter out there. All right, sounds good. Couple of legends from your grade. Connie keeps talking about coming out, but I got to get him to come out. Yeah. He's great. He's great. He texts me all the time. Usually most some of the ridiculous stuff. Uh, it's so funny you say that. My singer just asked me if we could learn that song. Dave Loggins. He just passed away, I believe. He wrote a song that Steve Wariner does called If I Could Make a Living Out of Loving You, which I absolutely love. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, he loves the Woman Chant stuff. Any of that stuff from Letterman in the early 80s. Doug Henning. Yeah, Dave Loggins was great. Great. Let me see if I missed any comments here because my TV's not really showing me. No, I can't see. I don't know what this button's going to do. Oh, yeah, live chat. Here we go. I thought I missed somebody. Did I? No. Okay, I did not. Good enough. All right, guys, this is the end of my cigar. I'm not going to smoke anymore. My coffee is done. That is a good cup of Joe. All right, very good. Jeff White, Happy New Year. Good to see you. Great to see you all. Yeah, I think my channel's going to hit 30,000 subscribers in January. It's been, like I said, since I stopped doing the lives, my channel's been growing a lot faster, which surprises me, but I got to do more lesson videos. I just got to find the time. But I will. I'll keep it going. Like I said, as long as there's songs that I have to learn and memorize and have to have them in my back pocket, that's what I do the videos for. So I can go back. In fact, I went back the other day for Love on the Rocks. Somebody asked me to teach them it. So I had to go back and learn it. And I had to go back and learn, there's been quite a few. Because I don't ever fucking remember. We do like, I mean, you got to remember, every night we're doing like 35 songs, and probably 10 to 15 of them are different every week, because we've been trying to add so many new songs in. I tell you, recently what we've been doing a lot, we've been doing that Under the Milky Way, and I added this acoustic part in to kind of simulate what the keyboard's doing, and I should probably do a lesson on that because it's really cool, and so many people come up and talk about how big the sound is on that song and how good it sounds, and it's interesting because we're just doing two guitars, and originally we would just both play the chords the way it is on the record, but I found when I put a triplet movement in the acoustic, that it really adds to the song. But anyways, that's all I got to say today, folks. Again, have a great year, great New Year's. Be out there, be safe, be smart, be healthy, be wealthy and wise. And I'll keep doing songs that you dig, that I dig, that we dig. Very good.